When you say aham brahmasmi, that means brahman आपके अंदर है. You are the universe. So we often restrict ourselves, we often tell ourselves that this is something I can do, this is something I cannot do, this is not my talent. And what I've come to realize is that you can actually be anything. The only thing that stops you from being anything is your own mind. So once you open that, sky is the limit. The entire premise of any Ved, if you read any Upanishad, is that we are all human beings made of the same Panchatattva which we talk about. So it's all the same. There is no person who is doing exceptionally well because it has been gifted in a certain way, and somebody who's not doing well. It's just their mind. If you see any interview of successful person, they're always saying that I just believed in myself. That belief is so strong that belief make you do wonders.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Pages of Pandora, the show where we dive into the stories and the authors behind them. Today's guest is someone who has balanced the corporate career, wrote a book and took it all the way to World Book Fair. Her journey genuinely stands out. She is the author of Rising Before Dawn Breaks, a book that explores identity, spirituality, and the silent strength of a woman finding herself. Welcome to the podcast, Archika.
Hi, thank you, Ariba. Thank you so much for having me on this show.
So, Archika, before we dive into your book, I want to start with something you wrote so mesmerizingly in the opening pages. You talk about the meaning of your name not just as a word, but as a powerful idea and a reflection of who you are. So, I'd love if you could share that story with our listeners. What does the Archika truly mean to you?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because for my life, I knew Archika as somebody, Archana Karne Wali, which is like somebody who worships, who is into doing prayers and things like that. So I was not somebody who would go to multiple temples and do puja and all. So I always thought, ma'am, what kind of name you've kept, because it doesn't resonate with me at all. And even she thought that naam ka thoda to asar aata hai insan pe, so how come she never does anything which is even closest to spirituality. For my entire life I was like that, and then I just stumbled upon Upanishads, and there I found this word Archika, and I was obviously intrigued to know what Archika really means. So there are hymns in Upanishad, and the hymns are sung in a particular way that invokes vibration, that invokes light. So that sound, that vibration, that music is actually called Archika. So that really connected with me, because here it was not just about doing prayers. It is more about becoming a medium. So when you sing a prayer in a particular way, you become a medium because you invoke some vibrations inside yourself that connects with the divine. So I just felt that invoking something inside, now that's interesting because you can invoke things in multiple ways. And I always saw storytelling as my strength. And when I always wanted to write a book. So when I thought about writing a book, I think this deeper meaning of my name really made me write something which invokes something in people.
So, moving towards your book has this beautiful mix of imagination and philosophy. So, did you plan everything beforehand, or was it more like discovering the story step by step?
No, actually, it's definitely discovering, because when I started writing, I just had one purpose in my mind, that I wanted people to remember their moral compass. Usually when we are in corporate 10, 14, 15 years down the line in our career, we only look at one thing, which is success, ambition, and a lot of things along the way we forget. We stop listening to our inner cells, the instinct, the intuition. There is always a guiding something inside of all of us. So I think as we go along, we just shut that voice. And there were so many occasions when I felt that people are not fundamentally bad. They are all good people. It's just that when you are so much focused into something, you just want to prove yourself, you just want to do something, everything else blurs in the background, and what you remember is that one thing, like a bullseye. But then, is that how we all want to lead our life? That question always was in my head. So I started with that, and rest of it just connect beautifully, because then I thought about the story, what it should be. and I wanted to add more depth to it. So along the way it became a story of grief, courage, enlightenment, about finding your own strength, and then of course the moral compass. So I also realized that your moral compass will not come to you so easily. You need to work on yourself. It just can't be like one fine day you woke up and, okay, great, I found my moral compass. Can't happen like that. So it has to be a step by step process. So I think in discovering that, I always say that I didn't write this book wrote me. So the kind of changes that I saw in 3.5 years in me are amazing. And, a lot of people who know me, they have seen that. So I think it's a great transformative journey even for myself.
That's really inspiring. So, there are so many characters you have written beautifully, no doubt. And talking about the main character of the book, Kyle Khanna, the way you started her and the way it ends, there is a long journey in between. And I'm damn sure writing it down was not easy for you. So, what was the main challenge you faced while writing her character, and what was the toughest part?
I think the toughest part definitely was in the first chapter when she's almost at the edge of, committing a suicide. To feel the kind of grief a person can go through to reach that level, I've never felt that myself. And, it's very difficult. I mean, touch wood, I've got a very blessed life. I've never really experienced pain of that sort. So obviously, I had to really feel Kyle Khanna inside of me to really write that part, which was definitely not easy. But I do remember living like Kyle to write that. So I literally felt that if I was that character, what I would do, what I would write. I think that was the difficult part. And of course, the transformation was something, as I said, I experienced in me. But then there are many parts in the forest, which obviously I've never experienced. And how would one really go about surviving in a forest? What would be the next step to do if this happened? What would I do? So I would often be lost in my thoughts. And of course, motherhood happens in between. So and I'm really in that peak of creation. My daughter would come up and say, okay, I want this, and I'm like, okay, not now. But yeah, where it was a challenge, where it was a beautiful challenge, because as I said, that really taught me to also be in the present, which is my life, and also then write what I was writing.
So, you were the Kyle Khanna.
I was trying to be, but Kyle Khanna is a very unique personality. She's got that fierceness in her. If you read the first few chapters, she's that bubbly woman who just want to be with the family. So she's a contradictory, and I always feel that every woman is like that. We kind of taint us as one character. We say, okay, whether fierce, sassy, or, sweet. It's never one. I think we have both sides in us. And that's what I wanted readers to connect with, to even identify that side of them, that they have both. It's the जैसे लाइफ की परिस्थिति होती है ना, वो आपको बना देती है, एंड यू डोंट इवन रियलाइज, बिकॉज इट्स सो डीप डाउन इन योर सबकॉन्शियस माइंड that you start believing that's your truth, but it's not. You can just change that anytime.
If you had to go to the very beginning, what was the original inspiration that made you choose to tell this story?
So as I said, I have worked in a corporate setting, and I am still working in corporate setting, and I always see people around me. And there is one thing which I observed, is that, you know, people are becoming complacent at some point, where even if they do see certain things which may not be absolutely correct, even if they know deep down that it is not correct, it is not so much ethical, they would just do it because they'll say it's my job to do. That thing always hurt me in my mind. And I felt that, why do people not really go back deep inside and just listen to their instinct? Because, as a person, you always have a choice. The only time you did not have a choice was in which house you will be born. After that, everything in life is your choice. So, what is the choice that you are making? What is the choice you would make if you could be anything, anybody? What is it that you want to be? So that question was something I wanted to throw at my readers that कुछ भी बन सकते हो दुनिया में, तो क्या बनोगे? Would you still choose what you are right now? So that's where I started.
While reading your book, I noticed that at the end of every chapter, you have added these beautiful poetic lines, almost like Kyle's inner voice speaking. So I really want to know what inspired you to add those phrases and which one is your personal favorite. I would actually love to hear it on your own voice.
Okay, no, I think I have many favorites. What made me write those poems? So I have been doing poetry for a very long time. I think since I was a kid, I would write poems, but never published anything. It was just for me, I would write. So so I wanted to show the state of mind of the protagonist, in a poetic way. So one is obviously the writing part, but I wanted to somebody who does not read the book completely, only reads the poem, should also understand, the journey Kyle is going through, from the first chapter to the last chapter, like understand how it's moving. So that was just a thought. I don't know if it really works that way, but I really wanted to add poems because poem gives more depth, more body to the entire narration. So yeah, how can I do without a poem? Okay, so I'll read this poem, which is at the end of chapter 2. It's one of my favorites. Coward or fearless, who am I wonder? What is moral? What is immoral? Is that a question to ponder? Waiting for faith to shine, arming me from fear. Fake idolist armor I always wear. I call it responsibility in my own pretense to be sincere. If cowardice can put your soul to sleep, can a fearless force of morality ignite a dream? Why do we hide our soul and live in a world that can be called real? Why can't we stand naked in the sun and show them all our fears?
Wow, that was really beautiful.
Thank you.
So one of the main theme of your book is based in the forest. So did you see the whole forest sequence phase as a form of manifestation, especially the way Abir's soul connect with Kyle?
So, definitely, now whether you call it a manifestation and how mostly people are connecting these days, or, so I'll tell you what I feel about manifestation before I answer to your question. So, anything that we do definitely manifest in different ways. Anything that we feel, it manifests in different ways in the universe. So, let's say if somebody is absolutely workaholic person, he would often manifest more work, more ambition in his life. You'll see that person always busy with things. And if somebody is more creative and he wants more space in life, they want to kind of balance their painting, they want to do something of writing, they will find time to do it. And people often, kind of say, how do you find time, how do I not find time? So that is exactly what manifestation work. It's something so deep down that you crave, and it starts manifesting in your real life. So forest is a setting. Forest in this book was a setting where, the manifestation that we usually do in the life, to the universe as we know, happens very fast and you can actually see it. Now, Kyle, when she entered the forest, she was desperately, seeking some bit of comfort, because there is a bear attack, there are things which are just not happening fine, and she's just struggling to even understand any of it. And that was a moment where she also deep down is in that grief and remembering Abir's soul and Abir's presence in her life, because he was the one who always grounded her. So that is exactly what she manifests then. She finds his soul. But then if you see, it's almost happening in a state of sleep. So it's not something which is really happening. So she's confused, towards till the end also she's confused whether this is really happening or is it all in the form of meditation or sleep that she's experiencing. And that's the mysterious part of the entire premise. But we do manifest things that we really crave and we really desire, but the intention has to be crystal clear. You can only manifest from your subconscious mind. You cannot manifest from your conscious mind. Just by writing 100 times, I want $1 million, I want $1 million, you cannot manifest anything, because you're manifesting from your brain, which is your conscious mind. Now, deep down, if you believe that ये पैसे आएंगे ही कहाँ से मेरे पास, there is no way this money can come to me, I don't have any distant relative who's going to transfer this money, I never bought a lottery ticket from where it can come, there is no way I can get this $1 million. So you will not get it, because deep down in your deepest subconscious intention, you have not manifested it, you only are manifesting it here. So how can it happen? So that's how the forest was also working. Deep down, when you are made of fear, grief, all those negative emotions, you will only manifest that in the form of a bear attack, or things like where you get in that muddy bog when she gets into that. So everything will happen negative in your life, and you will be like, why is it happening to me? Because this is what you're manifesting, you're only manifesting fear. So that's what you're getting. So like, there's a simple, what you sow is shall you reap. That's so true, because that's the seed, वही बीज है जो आप यूनिवर्स में सो कर रहे हो. And how much we believe that guilt is a positive emotion, because let's say you hurt somebody and you're feeling guilty, but it is not. So universe takes only vibration, so any lower vibration, it only weighs you down. So guilt is not positive emotion, it is because it is out of your ego that you feel guilt. So anything that you operate out of ego only lowers your energy, you only attract lower things. Anything where you're, so joy, where you are giving things to others, where you are having clear intention of doing something good for the society, or you're positive, you're always thinking very positive things, so your vibrations goes above. So that's where you start manifesting, because you are not working in that lower realm of energy. When I was in Vipassana, I mean, they so when you're completely silent, when you are not talking to anybody, when you don't have any distraction like a phone or anything all that sorts, you really at some point touch your subconscious, and that's exactly what that book talks about. So it was very interesting to read it after Vipassana, because now I can really understand, what they say is absolutely true.
Speaking of that, the part in the forest, it played out in my mind like almost advanced as Bollywood film, given how cinematic your storytelling is. So have you ever considered adapting this into a film with a strong female protagonist?
Oh, I would love that to happen. I mean, why not? I almost visualized also in my head, when you said this. And, I always saw Deepika Padukone doing
Oh
that
my
character,
god.
because, she has that entire spectrum. We've seen her in Piku, where she was doing this very, serious role, and she was also going through her internal struggle. So, we've seen her in movies like Gehraiyan, and many other movies where she's actually uh, done roles where there is an internal struggle. And then we've also seen her in Cocktail and Baji Rao Mastani, where she has this depth of love, and she has also this bubbly cheerfulness like in Love Ajkal. So I think she can just be Kyle in my mind. Like, when I was writing, sometimes I even had a figure like Deepika in my head, because she's tall, and that's how the even the character is here. So yeah, definitely, I would love her to play that role if actually it
We would
happens
love
one
to
day.
see that in theater. From what I understood while reading your book, so your book touches a very deep idea that we are formless. We are not labels, not the body, not even the mind, but something beyond all of that. And that runs like a thread throughout the Kyle's journey. So what made you explore such a spiritual and philosophical layer in a fictional story? And what were you hoping readers would take away from this?
So I think the takeaway definitely was to understand the potential, which is the infinite potential. So when you say Aham Brahmasmi, that means Brahman aapke andar hai, and you are the universe. So we often restrict ourselves, we often tell ourselves that this is something I can do, this is something I cannot do, this is my inner talent, this is not my talent. And what I've come to realize is that you can actually be anything. The only thing that stops you from being anything or doing anything is your own mind. So once you open that, as they say, we've heard the sky is the limit. And actually, that is true, because the entire premise of any Ved, if you read any Upanishad, anything, is that so we are all human beings. We are all made of the same Panchatattva, which we talk about. So it's all the same. There is no person who is doing exceptionally well because it has been gifted in a certain way, and somebody who's not doing well. It's just their mind. If you see any interview of any successful person, they're always saying that I just believed in myself. I just believed in this would happen. That belief is so strong that belief make you do wonders. So that gift I wanted to give to people, to believe in themselves. That's the foundation of anything if they want to do anything in life. And that belief is also important to come out of grief and things. What I learned in Vipassana, we were always told anything anitya hai, bhangur hai, which means what you're feeling right now, this shall too pass. It's just in this moment that you're feeling this, but it's nothing in this moment. There is never any sorrow, any pain in this moment. So, right now, if you see, in this moment as we speak, there is no pain, there is nothing. So, why are we always living in the past or in the future? When you live in the present, there is nothing. It's just so simple to live, but we complicate it, you know. So that whole part is what I want people to understand, and I think once they understand, they will also understand the potential, because that thing you need to clear from your head, that you can't do this, or this pain is too much, or this I cannot, all of those negatives, once you just park them aside, there is so much positive, that whole thing to explore, which you should just go after.